Hey, and welcome to this terrific Tuesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live as we do every day, Monday to Friday, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Question Tequila Studios. Today we have a special addition to the set. One of our friends over at Vesica Vodka sent us down some samples to try, so we'll be having that. The Dow Jones is experiencing some problems this morning, still sputtering through those trade and tariff talks. The market is waiting on that. There was some disappointing retail earnings, but we're going into the hottest season of the year, so we'll see how that pans out. Bitcoin down another 150 today at 8,100. As I've been mentioning to you, above 8,000 is okay. We're safe. There's a stabilization zone. Through 8,000, there could be a trapdoor down to as low as 5,000. There may be a buying opportunity there, but I'll keep you posted. Keeping me posted on everything that's happening in the news and the markets in the world in your neighborhood. Frank Morano joins me again as usual. How are you, Frankie boy?
Well, I'm doing great, John, especially because we get a little bit of a break from these impeachment proceedings, which we'll be covering at length throughout the show.
Oh,
but
boy.
I have to tell you, I'm bored to tears. I'm bored to tears with the whole impeachment story. My attitude with this is it's just a tremendous waste of time, and somebody should wake me when it's over.
Wake me
that
up
being said,
before you go.
That being said, we're going to bring you the highlights of Colonel Vindman's testimony and of the aide to Mike Pence that's testifying as well. You don't seem impressed.
The big news, can I go to breaking news?
Okay,
That some people may not know, but if you haven't been paying attention this morning, one of the leading advocates to impeach and jail Donald Trump is Congressman Eric Swalwell. I think Roger Stone referred to him as Eric Swallowswell. Or something like that.
I don't know.
That's what Roger's nickname was for him. But he's on air on MSNBC, and he just shows how little respect he has for the public. You see this or no?
I did see this. I read a description.
This is the most, to me, the best thing that's come out of the impeachment hearings yet is this.
So far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
You've seen him like freeze up for a minute. Oh, can I hold this? No.
Well, it sounds like he passed gas. But I'm not so sure. First of all, it doesn't sound like a clear sound of someone passing gas.
Does to me.
And you know, John, as well as everybody, having been on television for as long as you've been, there are all sorts of things that you can do with your mic, all sorts of ways you could sit in your chair, which make it sound like that when it's not actually the case. I
don't think someone was like sitting off to the side with a fart machine.
No.
And he actually like froze up like, oh, like he was trying to hold it in or something.
Can we see it one more time?
Can we take another look at that, please?
Can we see it one more time? Because again,
I want to see it.
I'm all for criticizing Eric Swalwell for this impeachment charade, but I really take issue with unfairly accusing him here. All right, let's. Excuse me. See, that could have been something like that.
Okay, well, let's hear it again.
Let's see it one more time, and then we have some serious news to get to.
So far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
I don't know. It sounds like his chair could be moving back as well. I don't know, Don. I don't know. Warrenstorff, it's going to be a long 2 hours with you in that machine. All right. Hey, some other news that we're following is White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham claimed that in an interview with CNN's Abby Phillips that Obama aides left "you will fail" notes in the office for Trump aides. This is what she said, quote, this is when Trump came into the White House succeeding Barack Obama. Yeah. "We came into the White House, I'll tell you something, every office was filled with Obama books, and we had notes left behind that said, 'You will fail, you aren't going to make it.'" Now, this is being called a bald-faced lie and outrageous lie by members of the Obama administration. They maintain that this is completely fallacious. And you know why I have a tough time believing it? I can't believe that we would only hear about this now.
Right. They held it in for 3 years. Breaking news.
Yeah,
We left a bad note for us in our desk.
But remember when Bill Clinton's aides took the W's out of all the keyboards and kind of wrecked the White House before George W. Bush came in?
Yep.
We heard about that right away.
Right away. That was big.
There would have been,
big news.
especially with the way this White House leaks, with everybody running to the press with all their problems, you would have absolutely seen somebody say this prior to 2.5 years ago. So Stephanie Grisham, I'm not calling you a liar, certainly not a bald liar, but I have a tough time with this one. Boy, we got to get you some Mylanta or something. All right, John.
I'll stop.
There is
I won't.
There is some more news that's a little bit closer to our home in New York, and that is precisely what I am speaking, frankly, about.
Okay. There's usually like a little thing that runs right there that says.
Let me just tell you what it is. We used to have a cool little graphic. It's okay. Budget cuts are what they are. But in New Jersey, you remember the Garden State, the state of New Jersey, right?
Yep.
So Governor Phil Murphy ran for office there, succeeding Chris Christie, on a platform of doing basically 2 things. One was raising taxes. You remember what the other one was, John?
Taking bullets away from off-duty police officers?
No, that was not a big part of it.
Well, that's one of the things he's done recently.
Well, but what did he campaign on when he ran? Raising taxes and what else?
I don't remember.
Legalization of marijuana.
Oh, legalization of marijuana.
So, like so many political promises, Phil Murphy has been unable to deliver on this one and is unable to get the legislature to go along with a ban of with a legalization of recreational marijuana.
But he did get it passed to take bullets away from off-duty police officers.
I will take you at your word for that one. Sounds like you're more familiar with that piece of legislation than I am. But I think what's happened now, as of yesterday, New Jersey and the state legislature in New Jersey is not going to pass this, but they're going to do something really innovative and really, especially by New Jersey standards, very new. They're going to let the voters vote on whether or not marijuana should be legal or not. And I'm looking at all the headlines about this story, nationally and locally, saying Murphy fails, this, that, cannabis bill dead. And they're acting, and even Phil Murphy's talking about how disappointed he is. And all I could think is, why would any politician be disappointed that the voters get to determine something like this for themselves? I'll tell you, here in New York, where we live, in January, we're going to start giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. I would have loved the opportunity to vote on that.
Illegal aliens.
Yeah,
aliens.
I would have loved to have voted on issue after issue, this bail reform that we're going to be talking about with Michelle Eskenazi that they passed in New York State. Why is it considered only a last resort for the voters to vote on important policy decisions themselves? Because I see what goes on in Trenton, I see what goes on in Albany, I see what goes on in many of the state capitals around the country, and I certainly see what goes on in Washington. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think the people could do any worse. So I wish every state would move towards referendums and initiatives and allow voters to have a say themselves on important policy decisions like legalization of marijuana. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen here, John.
Well, they know what's best, Frankie. They know what's best. They don't want us voting. They know what's best.
Well, exactly, right. You're going to see people here who have never expressed any interest in voting before come out on both sides, come out and have passionate debates about this issue.
70-30 4-pot.
Well, is that what you're predicting?
That's my estimate right now.
I think
70-30. 70% of New Jersey Garden Stateites are going pro-pot.
I think it's going to be
it's a lock.
It's
the lock
closer.
Of the year. I'm putting that in my parlay this week with Nico.
Well, so it's going to be a little closer. The election's not till next year in 2020, so there should be a high turnout because it's a presidential election.
We'll do futures on
But I say, let the people vote on all this stuff. Look, if there's some obscure budgetary issue or some obscure issue related to procurement, maybe that's an issue that's better suited for legislators. But by and large, especially now with information at everybody's fingertips, I think the more say people can have in their own governance, the better. And I don't think it's a conservative or a liberal argument to say the people should have the ability to govern themselves and not leave it to brown-nosing politicians with connections.
I like that. Phil Murphy, to me, is a disgrace. I mean, maybe it's a local issue, but we're seeing governors across the country, these liberal governors, doing crazy things. It's like...
Well, whether it's crazy or not, I don't think it's up to the legislature to save the voters from themselves. Put it on the ballot. Let the voters vote. Let both sides make their argument. You know, I've been on the losing side of a lot of referendums over the years.
That was Eric Swalwell calling. So we have all kinds of things going on around the world, Frankie. We got these protests going on in Iran. I think a little later this week we're going to have on a former member of ISIS.
Oh, really?
I thought that's what you said.
I'm glad he's a former.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big effort out there to de-radicalize these people. Yeah. What's happening in Iran? I know you love that.
Well, we're going to get into it a little bit later with some of the Iranian resistance. But let me tell you a little bit what's happening in Washington. So Jennifer Williams, who's an aide to Vice President Pence, is testifying now. And President Trump tweeted how she's a never-Trumper. And she responded to that. She said that that is not the case, and she responded that she is not a never-Trumper. Quote. That's an exact quote.
So I don't know if, I'm sure you saw, but for those of you at home, the big news is they wheeled out another asset from the deep state who was at a dinner with Ambassador Sondland in a noisy Ukrainian restaurant, and dun-dun-dun, Donald Trump called the ambassador, and he held the phone away from his ear, and this person could hear the president verbatim. And he told him, yes, Mr. President, the Ukrainians are going to do it. Do what? Do what? Oh, they're going to send a big bag of cash to Donald Trump Jr., and they're going to give him a seat on the board of one of the big oil companies here in return for you investigating Joe Biden. You didn't hear that?
I did not hear that.
I'm saying no one heard that. Right. The joke is there's nothing there, and this guy is now allegedly, talk about hearsay, he's saying he heard it not on speakerphone, through Gordon Sondland's phone. You saw this, right? It's like...
Well, we'll see what Gordon Sondland has to say tomorrow.
It gets more bizarre by the minute.
When he testifies. Some other news that we're watching, we've been chronicling the discussion about Jeffrey Epstein. And as of today, charges are being filed against the 2 federal correction officers that were on duty the night that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Now, they apparently were asleep, and then they falsified prison records to make it look as if they were checking in on Epstein. So those guys are being charged. And
they'll both get snuck out of wherever they get sentenced to by the Clinton cartel, or they'll wind up dead, hung in their cell from the paper sheets that you can't hang yourself. Don't get me on an Epstein rant right now.
Very good.
Tarek is scrambling through the clips right now because he thinks I'm going to ask for Juan Epstein or something, but no, I'm not going to do it to my team. We have a great show coming up for you today. We had Senator Jim DeMint coming in to join us to kick off the second hour today. Kevin McCullough, heard right here in New York on AM 970, and Beth DeFalco are going to join us in one of my favorite segments, to Mix It Up, where we bring in a Democrat, a Republican. I throw out the topics and mix a drink. They mix it up. All voices are heard. We have a thoughtful conversation, which isn't happening on any other network. I can promise you that. And at the end, no matter what happens, we shake hands and we part friends. We're going to part friends for a quick break right here. We're going to come back right after this and mix it up with Kevin McCullough and Beth DeFalco.